Welcome to Seniors on the Move. We have some very interesting conversation today. We're very lucky to have Jennifer Rifkin Taylor. I never would have memorized that. I want you to know that. Jennifer is a licensed social worker. We probably need more of those good people. Working with children, adolescents, and seniors and families since 2001. Mm-hmm. She's currently clinical director at Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services, where she oversees the outpatient clinic and other support service programs. And she's also a mental health first aid instructor, teaching classes statewide. Prior to her work at SYFS, I'm not going to say it again, Jennifer was director of Youth and Young Adults Services for a decade at the Institute for Health and Recovery. She developed an expertise in treating youth substance use disorders and also consulted with the Mass Department of Public Health. That's a lot of stuff. And I know you do even more than that. And where did I find her? At the Shrewsbury Senior Center. She gave a wonderful talk, and I'm just hoping maybe she can duplicate at least some of what she said about Mental Health 101. So this is for us, for some of you who might not know what's available, what it is, how it's treated, and the stigma involved with it also. First question, prevalence of mental disorders in the senior population. Can you give us a rough estimate on that?
Absolutely. So there's, numbers that are kind of a little bit all over the place, but it's anywhere from about 12 to 25% of seniors have diagnosable mental health conditions. And that's fairly comparable to sort of the general population of the United States, which is around 20%.
And what about depression? Is depression a natural part of aging, or?
Depression is categorically not a natural part of
aging. Isn't that good news? Yes.
Yes, it is good news.
Yeah.
But I think what that means is if you are finding yourself having a hard time finding joy in your life, feeling like you're pulling back from some of your social relationships, maybe having a hard time getting out of bed in the morning on a sort of more consistent basis, that's not aging. That is potentially depression. And the good news is that I always like to say, not that there's good news about depression, but the good news is that that is a treatable condition in the same way that, you got a sore throat, you go to the doctor, they do a quick swab, you have strep throat. Depression is treatable.
So why do seniors not do it? Why don't they go for help? Why do you think they don't go for help?
I think there's really a variety of reasons why folks opt not to go get help. I think sometimes a lot of folks don't recognize that they're experiencing a mental health issue. They don't understand that what they're going through on a day-to-day basis isn't a natural part of aging, isn't a natural human experience, and that it's a medical condition that requires treatment. So I think that that's maybe part of it, and hopefully even just by tuning into the show, people will start to understand a little bit, oh, wait a second, my friend, I'm a little concerned, maybe they can go get treatment. But I think another major issue is stigma around mental health.
I think so too, yeah.
I think it is improving. I think stigma, particularly since COVID, around mental health issues has been decreasing. But at the same time, I think a lot of attitudes do continue to exist that, we were talking prior, having a mental health issue makes you weak. It's a character defect. And again, that's just not true. It is a diagnosable and treatable health condition.
And what about anxiety? I think seniors are a little more anxious about safety issues and things like that.
Without a doubt. So anxiety is a normal part of life.
Yeah.
We have all experienced anxiety. And I think it would make sense that seniors might be a little bit more anxious around safety issues, just particularly with like falls, things like that.
Yeah, that's right.
That's valid. For the young people that I work with, sometimes, there's anxiety around exams or something like that. Anxiety is a completely natural experience. We all have it. However, it becomes sort of a clinical issue when that anxiety begins to interfere with your life. Like, for example, if you are so anxious about falling that you don't really leave your house much, or you try and avoid leaving your house.
Yes, I think that's common.
Yeah, again, I don't have exact numbers on percentage of folks who struggle with anxiety and anxiety disorders, But I can absolutely tell you that depression and anxiety are two of the most common mental health conditions that are experienced by older
They
adults.
are. And who do you see? Who comes to you for treatment? Or explain that to me, because a lot of the times, as we just said, people don't want to admit it. They're afraid to get treatment. They don't want anyone to know they're doing it.
Absolutely. So we see folks across the lifespan. We see folks as young as 5 and folks, I think
All
the
the way up.
oldest person in our clinic right now, I want to say, is in like 89 or 90 years old. And a lot of folks have come to us to help process grief, to help,
That's another thing.
without a doubt,
Loss.
to help examine feelings of loneliness, to help work on relationships with their children, to help work on relationships with their friends, their partners, whoever it might be. It's honestly, it's the same, maybe not the exact same type of stuff, but ultimately it's about human connection more often than not. And that's the same thing that we see in 5-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 85-year-olds. It's really
an
seeking
interesting way.
positive human connection.
And who brings them in? Usually their children or someone in the family?
No, it's more,
They
9
just
times
co-
out of 10, it's,
They come in and say, I have a problem.
yeah, just like I'd like a little support around X issue, whatever it might
All
be.
right. And as far as drugs go, who prescribes, or do you send them to a doctor?
Yeah, we at Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services, we do not have any kind of prescribers. We usually, for medications, if folks decide that that feels like they want that to be a part of their treatment, we would encourage them to start with their PCP, their primary care.
And what about talk therapy? Do you do something like that?
That is exactly what we do. That is almost exclusively what we do, is talk therapy. And there's actually really good research that talk therapy, especially for things like anxiety and depression, can be just as effective and sometimes more effective than medication.
What about yoga? Does that play a part?
It can absolutely play a
I
part.
find it helps me a little bit to calm down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's really good research, particularly around, and I know this is sort of not yoga specifically, but there's great research around mindfulness practices.
Yes.
Massive
Yes.
research. We actually have one clinician, that's sort of her specialty, is integrating mindfulness into clinical practice, and she also happens to be a yoga instructor. So,
That's interesting. What about exercise? Do you ever talk about that? I'm sure you talk about everything. But
oh,
I
absolutely.
just wanted to be a little more specific so people would know.
Absolutely. There's a ton of good data about exercise and improving mental health, particularly
Yes.
if you're able to. One of the best things you can do for yourself in terms of improving your mental health is go outside for a walk. Getting outside,
true.
if you're able to. Obviously, I know
Yes.
that you have to have the capacity to be able to do it, but being able to walk outside has tremendous mental health benefits. It gets you that exercise. It, maybe not today with the rain, but in generally
does.
gets you some nice vitamin D. It's just great for
So
you.
do you deal then with people that may have taken a fall and are afraid to get out and,
Oh,
and walk? They're afraid. Every step they take, they're afraid they're going to fall.
Absolutely. And so what we'll do if folks are interested in trying to reintegrate movement into their lives or trying to get out of their house more, the way that we'll work with them is to sort of build a gradual exposure plan where, maybe can you walk to the edge of your porch? You can do that. That's amazing. Great job. And we'll,
Just
if it's
moving,
Yep.
yeah.
If it's the anxiety that's getting in the way, we'll give you strategies to help you manage that anxiety as you sort of take that walk to the porch.
I'm going to do more
for
walking
example.
myself, actually. I don't know if you can talk about this or not, but what about cannabis and gummies and creams? I heard a 95-year-old woman say to me, oh yeah, she says, I've had that for years. She says it really helps with my joints and things.
So I'm going to
Say what
start
you
by
can
saying
say.
that I am not a medical professional, and so I can't really comment on the efficacy of cannabis for pain management and that type of thing. I do know that there are studies indicating that that is the case. I just can't comment on them because I'm not a medical doctor. That being
right.
said, I do know that it is not unusual now for doctors to prescribe cannabis, really to folks of every age, to help with pain management. In terms of substance use and substance misuse, that is a not talked enough problem in the older adult community, I would say.
That's true. As I said, I went to a meeting and I was the only one there, and I wanted to hear everything, but And I had the person on the show anyway, so all of you could hear the speaker. She was talking about that. The stress factor, and of course we're talking about that already, but what do you do, what do you say to people that are, everything is a problem, everything is difficult. What about sleeping?
Yeah, I mean,
Sleeping disorders is another one right there.
Absolutely. So sleep is one of the most important things you can do to promote positive mental health. So depending on what someone's coming in for and in with and what they're presenting with, we might work on sleep. And sometimes it might mean having a regular bedtime. It might mean trying to develop a proper bedtime routine. I think it's a little bit easier if you're young and you have kids and you have places that you have to be by 9:30 or 7:30 in the morning. You're like, all right, well, I need to get to bed by 10:30. If you don't have those same sort of day-to-day responsibilities that are forcing you out of bed, it's easy to sort of slip into not having a nighttime routine, and that can be one of the most helpful things to help regulate your sleep.
Yeah. What about volunteer work? Would that be something you might suggest for people? Because I do. I work with seniors all the time.
Absolutely.
Take a class, take an exercise class.
Absolutely. I think it's anything you can do to foster, and I mentioned this before, but to foster and bolster human connection is generally going to be something that can improve your mental health.
Yeah. And living alone is a challenge too. I mean, we need a little more help. We don't see as well. We need rides to the doctor and that kind of thing. Do you have anything to do with that?
No, we don't. So I know that in the town of Shrewsbury, our senior center works really well being able to
that's
help
right.
folks. And I would imagine that the town of Westborough has the same.
Yeah. All right. If you want to get the word out there to our seniors about, again, not feeling funny or stigmatized because they think they might have a problem, what is the process? I mean, would they just call you?
Yeah, so
You're in Westborough now, too?
starting July 1st, we are going to be in Westborough, and we are able to provide counseling, again, for folks ages 5 all the way up through the lifespan.
All right.
And we're able to do it so that cost is never going to be a barrier to accessing treatment, because I know that can be a big piece
Good
of
point.
people's worries
Really good
when they're
point.
thinking about it. We will never, if cost is an issue, we will work with you around that.
Wonderful.
And so, yeah, so we're available. You can give us a call at 508-845-6932. My name is Jen. You can always speak with me directly.
Now, Jen, how many people are working there or will be working there?
So we're going to have 2 clinicians. And I can tell you right now, we'll be looking not this year, but probably the following year to add some interns. That's how we do it at our Shrewsbury site.
All right.
And in our past fiscal year, I think we served 195 clients. This is off the
Really?
top of my head. So we're pretty busy.
So will you be branching out even more eventually? Or?
Not that I know of. I mean,
No.
maybe in theory
You
one
never
day,
know.
but we're not necessarily looking to grow. We have a close working relationship with the town of Westborough, and it just sort of kind of worked out this way.
That's great. Why don't you give your phone number one more time?
Please.
Try to remember this. Yeah.
It's 508-845-6932.
I'm going to write that down myself.
Please do, and feel free to share that with anyone.
Oh, yeah.
We really just want to be able to serve,
This is great.
anyone who needs the support.
All right, I have another question. If someone does come to you, I'm sure they return. You must be kind of keeping track of their progress?
Oh, 100%.
What is the process? Can you explain it a little bit?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So if someone
Thank
comes
you.
to us interested in therapy, we will initially do what's called an assessment, and we will sort of come up with a diagnosis, and we'll develop a treatment plan around the diagnosis. Again, sort of in the same way that, not that I want to compare, having generalized anxiety disorder to, like lung cancer, but a doctor would make
Sure.
the diagnosis and develop a treatment plan, and we will do the same. And that will typically require weekly therapy, where you're going to be gaining skills and hopefully developing some insight into your thinking patterns. We're going to talk about ways to manage anxiety in the moment, ways to sort of integrate self-care into your life on a day-to-day basis. That would hopefully decrease some of your overall stressors.
Very interesting. Do you have any affiliations with physicians or psychiatrists or psychologists?
Nothing official, no. I mean, there's certainly some doctors and, psychiatrists that we've probably worked with more than others, but we don't have any like official relationships
All
or
right.
collaborations.
But you would recommend if needed?
Yeah, if
But-
needed, we can certainly try and get creative and see if we can help folks access whatever
Yeah.
services they need.
Well, this
And
is-
again, I just want to point out, like, counseling lasts as long as you need to meet your treatment goals. We're not going to kick you out. But at the same time, if you as a client decide you're no longer interested in services, that's fine. So the termination process happens sort of collaboratively.
All right. And your success rate?
It's pretty high.
Seems
I mean,
like it's pretty high.
it's pretty high. Overall therapy, like just in general, I don't have sort of SYFS success numbers per se, but in general, talk therapy is, around 70 to 80% success rate, which is similar to medication for most.
And okay, and
mental
what
illnesses.
percent are seniors at this point in Shrewsbury?
In Shrewsbury, I'd say, maybe 10-ish% of the folks that we serve.
Well, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so the numbers have dramatically increased in the last several years, and I think part of it is we've had a improved relationship and a really strong partnership with the local senior center and the Council on Aging, and we hope to bring that same sort of energy and collaboration into Westborough.
That's great. And I do an exercise class called Fit for Life for seniors, and you can go on YouTube, just type in Fit for Life with Karen, and you can have your morning exercise. Yeah.
Beautiful,
So
I love it.
I just want to contribute a little bit. I mean, this is what I do, and why not try to help people? I started it when COVID started, just so that people would have, people that were confined to their home had something to do, could stay in shape a little bit better. And now I've done almost 200 shows.
Oh my
Isn't
goodness.
that wonderful?
That actually is really impressive.
Thank you. If there's anything else you'd like to say about what you do or to our seniors, say it now, or we'll just have you back and have another interview.
I guess my one thing I would want to say is counseling is for you too. It's not just for young people. Counseling is for you if you're struggling with any kind of feelings of anxiety, depression, substance use, trauma, that you're, it's impacting your day-to-day life. You don't have to live that way. You can
Yes.
get help. Mental health conditions are treatable.
We all want to feel better. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. So don't sit home all by yourself. Do something about it. And
Please.
if they're all like this lady, you're going to meet some wonderful people. You're going to feel good about yourself. But don't forget to exercise. Like you said before, taking a walk, even if it's just a little walk, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, get out into nature. Look at the green. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.